Hello everyone, today I will tell you about the film Dune Part 2. Enjoy watching. Before watching, please don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment. I'm trying to develop this channel and your support is the only thing I have. Continuation of the first part of the film begins with Princess Irulan. She reports to her father, the Emperor, that the Harkonnens treacherously attacked the Atreides and killed them. The Emperor pretends to be upset, as if it was not he who gave the Sardaukar detachment. Meanwhile, on Arrakis, the surviving Atreides, Paul and his mother, Lady Jessica, along with the Fremen, catch a Harkonnen patrol. Having noticed a corpse, the landing party lands in the desert. Having climbed to the top of the mountain, the Harkonnens die one after another from sniper shots from the Fremen campers. The corpses fall down, almost killing the hidden Atreides. One of the soldiers comes down and notices the fugitives. He decides to attack Paul, but the boy grabs the sword of one of the dead and enters the fight. As soon as he finishes off the Harkonnen, a shooter with a rifle appears behind him. He dies at the hands of Lady Jessica. The Fremen begin to examine the corpses, and from the deceased themselves, they pump out liquid for further processing. The remains are thrown into a pile, and a mallet is left nearby to feed the Shai-Hulud, a sandworm. Rabban orders his subordinates to capture not only the northern hemisphere of Arrakis, but also the southern one, which is considered uninhabited. He is informed about the death of the landing party at the hands of the Fremen, which enrages Harkonnen. Meanwhile, the Fremen with the joined Atreides arrive at the shelter. The locals are not happy with the newcomers, especially since they killed Jameis, even in accordance with the traditions of the Fremen themselves. Stilgar insists at the Council of Elders that they must be left. Jessica is from the Bene Gesserit order, and Paul is the Messiah from the prophecy. Stilgar shows Jessica a reservoir where holy water is stored, liquid from the bodies of dead Fremen. He offers her to become the Reverend Mother of his people, since the current ones may soon die. To do this, you need to undergo a special ritual, drink the water of life, which kills men and unprepared women. Lady Jessica agrees. The water turns her eyes blue. Her visions intensify, and the fetus carried in her womb gains consciousness and begins to communicate telepathically with its mother, sharing with her the memories of previous reverends. Stilgar sees the successful ritual as evidence that Paul is the Messiah. His opinion is shared by the southern Fremen, but not the northerners, including Chani. Paul himself also refuses to be called the Messiah and to consider the ritual a miracle. His mother was specially prepared for this. But even so, Stilgar calls him a humble Messiah, continuing his religious propaganda. His mother encourages Paul to also drink the water of life in order to improve his clairvoyant skills, unite the Fremen as a Messiah, and recapture Arrakis from the Harkonnens. But he refuses. Stilgar says that the people will follow him only when he himself becomes a Freeman. First, they need to learn how to survive in the desert, for which Paul is sent on a solo journey. At the last moment, Chani tags along with him, worried that he will die. In the next scene, the harvester, guarded by soldiers, is pumping spice out of the desert. At the right moment, Fremen jump out from under the sand and cut down the guards during a small skirmish. When the machine gun turns on, the Fremen make their way under the harvester's tracks and hide behind the support legs to get the grenade launcher, simultaneously fighting off the remaining guards. Chani fails to hit the bird with the first shot. They hide behind the other leg, after which Paul comes up with a clever maneuver to distract the machine gunner's attention so that his girlfriend can aim better. Having shot down the aircraft, the Fremen destroy the harvester itself with a pinpoint shot. Celebrating a small victory, Stilgar calls Paul a real Freeman and suggests choosing a special name. The young man calls himself Muad'Dib. All that remains is to learn how to ride the Shai-Hulud, like Stilgar. As if saying goodbye to the past, Paul takes off his father's ring. Chani sits down next to him to kiss him. People combine romantic relationships with forays into Harvester and the Harkonnens. This makes both Rabban and his uncle Vladimir nervous. The nephew is summoned to the Baron. Vladimir hints to Rabban that if he does not resolve the Freeman issue, he will be punished. Stilgar takes Paul to training, which is watched by the other Fremen. The young man, standing on a dune, turns on the thresher to summon a worm. A huge specimen responds to the call. Paul jumps on its back with 2 harpoons to hook onto the scales of the Shai-Hulud. He rides majestically on the worm to the cheers of the crowd. Upon learning of the successful test, Lady Jessica orders her subordinates to spread the good news. The great Messiah has come. Paul himself does not like this. He does not want to be a religious leader invented by Bene Gesserit for the sake of control. In addition, they have different points of view on marriage. The young man likes Chani, and his mother insists on a political marriage. The guerrilla war continues. The Fremen blow up a spice warehouse in the planet's capital. Robin raises a punitive detachment of ornithopters. Having struck a mountain range where the locals like to hide, the Harkonnen land troops. But in the raised dust, they are methodically destroyed by the Fremen. The operation ends with a tactical retreat of the Harkonnen, during which Robin himself almost suffered. Princess Irulan reports to the Emperor about the situation on Arrakis. She reminds her father that fighting a religious messiah is very dangerous. As a Bene Gesserit, she guesses that Paul Atreides has survived, but the Reverend Mother of the Order orders her to keep it a secret. If the great houses learn of the Emperor and the Harkonnens' conspiracy to kill the Atreides, they will unite against them. But Bene Gesserit has a backup plan to make the psychopath Feyd-Rautha, Harkonnen's younger nephew, heir to the throne. The story moves to Giedi Prime, the Harkonnen homeworld. Feyd-Rautha is preparing for a celebratory ceremony dedicated to his coming of age. It consists of a gladiatorial duel against the last 3 representatives of House Atreides. When he goes out to fight, the young man is surprised to notice that his opponents are not injected with sedatives. Despite this, he quickly deals with 2 of them. Only the third, more experienced fighter caused serious trouble. Showing him respect, Feyd-Rautha turns off the force field, realizing that he will still win. Moreover, the guard ran onto the field just in case to avoid problems. Harkonnen quickly deals with the enemy to the joyful howl of the crowd. Later, he accuses the Baron of attempted murder. But this is Vladimir's cunning plan, to test his nephew's loyalty. In response, Feyd-Rautha threatens to kill his uncle someday, but he offers to become the viceroy of Arrakis in place of the failed Rabban. Success in this matter will open the way for Feyd-Rautha to the imperial throne. Later, the nephew stumbles upon the pursuing woman, the Bene Gesserit acolyte Margot, who seduces him in order to preserve his genetic material. While Feyd-Rautha is being crowned ruler of Arrakis, the usual things are happening on Dune itself. The Fremen attack the Harvester and the Harkonnens. Paul suddenly realizes that he is not dealing with sworn enemies, but with his teacher Kalik, who survived the massacre committed in the first series. Now he works for spice smugglers. Realizing that the student has become a religious leader for an entire army of locals, Kalik suggests going to war on the capital and knocking out the Harkonnens. Paul explains that he saw the future in visions. If he does so, everything will end in a holy war across the galaxy, and he does not want this due to his innate humanism. Paul accepts Halleck into his ranks. The mentor reveals a terrible secret to him. He knows the location of the cache in which Paul's father kept a nuclear arsenal, 92 atomic warheads. Having checked the cache, they find nuclear bombs. Lady Jessica warms up the Southerners to join the religion named after her son. She goes to the temple where the locals breed Shai-Huluds. A temple acolyte takes out a tiny sandworm and keeps it in a reservoir. Since water is poisonous for Shai-Huluds, it quickly dies, and the water of life is extracted from its body, which Jessica needs for further plans. Feyd-Rautha arrives on Arrakis. He beats Robin, forcing him to kiss his boots as a sign of humility, after which he orders the fleet to bomb the Fremen shelter with heavy weapons. Paul, seeing traces of destruction and wounded comrades, is very angry. Stygar convinces the young man that he must start a war against the invaders. Before the evacuation of survivors, Paul is tormented by guilt. Despite the gift of foresight, which helped in guerrilla raids, he was unable to predict the attack of the Harkonnen fleet and save people. Remembering his mother's words that the water of life will enhance his talents, Paul separates from the people during the evacuation and goes to the temple. There he takes a tincture from the hands of a servant, along with a warning that one sip can kill him. After drinking, he sees the ocean washing the shore of the desert, the glorious future of Arrakis, and on the shore stands his unborn sister. You can tell by her eyes that she is a queen. While Paul is unconscious, close people gather around, including Chani. The girl accuses Jessica of killing her son, but Stygar remembers the prophecy about tears. Chani, crying for her lover, wets her fingers and dips them in the water of life, after which she runs her hand over the deceased's lips. He comes to, increasing the religious fanaticism of those gathered. Only Kalik does not share the enthusiasm. Paul's enhanced abilities allowed him to reveal another curious fact. His mother is the daughter of Vladimir Harkonnen, who is his grandfather. Paul gathers a huge army of Fremen. He speaks to the crowd, inspiring them not only to free Arrakis from the oppression of the Harkonnens, but also promising a fertile paradise. Those who do not believe in his divine essence, Paul convinces thanks to sacred knowledge about their past and secret fears. The Emperor receives a message from Arrakis. Paul Atreides challenges him. Princess Irulan asks the Reverend Mother why they would destroy one of the great houses. She says that Bene Gesserit has been making plans for millennia. This is just one of them. And the princess's task is to become the wife of the one who wins the confrontation between the pretenders. The Emperor goes to Dune to personally deal with the brewing revolution. His visit comes as a surprise to the Harkonnens. Vladimir orders a message to be sent to all the great houses, informing them that the spice deposits are under attack, and the future of space travel is at risk. Having arranged an audience, the Emperor asks the barons why they did not deal with Muad'Dib, whose gang of savages is causing inconvenience, hiding in the southern hemisphere. For their negligence, the aristocrats receive blows with a club. The heroes of the occasion are planning an attack on the capital under the cover of a sandstorm. They summon Shai-Huluds to use as weapons and transport. Paul destroys a mountain range with nuclear missiles. The Emperor's Sardaukar recover from the explosion, preparing to defend themselves. However, their combat training proves useless against the might of the great Shai-Hulud, capable of devouring an entire company at once. An attempt at a counterattack is unsuccessful, and the Fremen advance. Chani's squad engages the Sardaukar in hand-to-hand combat, while Paul breaks into the palace. Under the eyes of the guards frozen in battle readiness, Paul, knife in hand, approaches the wounded Baron Harkonnen to stab him. He then descends to the Emperor, ignoring the guards who have sharpened their swords. He orders the Fremen to lock up the prisoners and kill the Sardaukar, and then leaves. The slaughter in the city continues until dark. Khalek catches up with the fleeing Robin to avenge the previous attack. The battle ends very quickly, and the galaxy is left without its guardian. At dawn, when the slaughter is over, the Fremen see the ships of the great houses in the sky, who have arrived at the call of the Harkonnens. Paul tells them to tell them that if they attack, he will destroy the spice deposits with atomic bombs. Then he offers the Emperor a deal, to marry Princess Irulan and take the throne. The Emperor admits that he ordered the Atreides to be killed. Paul challenges him. Feyd-Rautha offers to replace the old man in the duel, to which Muad'Dib agrees. The cousins converge in a knife fight, exchanging lunges and blows. The opponent is on equal terms, but Harkonnen draws the first blood. After a short break, the fight continues. Feyd-Rautha plunges a knife into Paul's side and moves in to finish him off. But Paul pulls the blade out of the wound and kills his unwary opponent, receiving a second wound to his shoulder. With a bloody blade, he hobbles towards the Emperor and holds out his hand with the family ring. Realizing that he has no choice, the old man kneels and kisses it to acknowledge Paul as Emperor. Despite the victory, Chani is dissatisfied with the outcome and proudly leaves the meeting. The great houses also refuse to recognize the Atreides' authority, which means the beginning of the war. Paul orders the Fremen to set off on the Sardaukar ships to conquer the Paradise Lands for themselves. Jessica comments on the events of her unborn daughter, while the insulted Chani lassos Shai-Hulud. This is where the film ends.